Hey everybody, people keep asking us, how are we going to fund the $20 billion gap in funding once property taxes goes away? This is the number one question that me, Stu Moats, running for lieutenant governor, and Heather Hill, running for governor on the Republican side of the ticket, this is the question we get most when we're campaigning. For one, cut spending is the true answer. I ask people, is government too big? Yes. Do they spend our money efficiently? No. So we know probably in every program there's significant savings to be had if we Doge Ohio. And doging it from someone from the outside, just a commoner, because if you ask them to do it, they're not going to do it. People say, oh well, we could never go back to, a lesser budget. Bullcrap. In 2020, the budget for Ohio was just over $70 billion. Right now it's over $100 billion. So if we just went back to 2020 level spending, that's almost $30 billion less than what we're currently operating at. There's a couple suggestions that we have, right? So there's over $3 billion currently in the budget that is, in 2025, that was going to higher education. I'm more worried about educating our primary schools and our high schools where our property taxes should be going instead of higher education. Let's bring that $3 billion back into our county schools, to our regular schools. There's no sales tax currently on legal services, accounting, consulting, advertising, and digital services. I wonder why that is. Could it be a lot of Columbus lobbyists are actually lawyers, or they're consulting firms? I would venture to say it probably is. ChatGPT says that it'd be several $billion in extra sales tax revenue if we just expanded the sales tax base to include those services. So that's probably $5-6 billion right there. We only need to get to 20, and this is without even doging anything. As an example, the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Comp, which I pay into, they fleece us. They extort the money from us. It's only one of 4 states in the whole union, Ohio is, that it's monopoly on workers' comp. They dictate the rates. You can't be in business without it. And they have this huge war chest. They have $21 billion of assets and investments. They only pay out about $1 billion a year in workers' comp claims and lost wages. So why do we need $21 billion in mutual funds, investments, and assets? That is crazy. So let's cash that out. So if people are nervous about year one of no property taxes, if we cash $16 billion out of that just to make sure we have peace of mind for the critical services, having a $5 billion surplus when we're on average, we're only paying out $1 billion. Oh, and by the way, every year they get another $1 billion from small businesses like me that pay into it. There's 611 school districts. Brian Massey talks about this a lot. Why in the world do we need 611 school districts for 88 counties? I don't know what the number is, but I think 2 or 3 school districts per county is probably enough. So the amount of savings, so those are just 2 examples of how we could more efficiently run the government to doge some things. That way people are like, oh, you just can't say you're just going to doge everything. I'm telling you, the Somali daycare centers is just the tip of the iceberg. I've worked in a lot of government organizations, and there's never been one where I said, you know what, man, they really spend their money wisely and they're staffed appropriately. It is not. We have the gambling. There's $3 billion from what we revenue to what actually gets paid out to schools. I am sure that $3 billion, that difference, there's a lot of pockets being lined for that. Let's just say, because no good DeWine, he's trying to scare everybody, trying to say, look, sales tax will go up to 18-20%. That's hogwash, complete hogwash. A 1% increase in sales tax increases revenue at the state level by $2.4 billion. So why do that? Plus, it'd be detrimental to the economy. A 1% income tax, however, will increase revenue by $4 billion. Everyone I've talked to, they're like, look, if you alleviate property taxes, if you had to increase, say, my income tax by even 8%, because right now it's 2.75%. What hits us the most is federal income tax. I mean, they're taking, depending on how much you make, I mean, it's 16 to 30% depending on your bracket. But no one ever complains about state income tax. It's such a little amount. So if we had to raise a tax to offset property tax, because again, we're trying to get the burden of all those critical services, that $20 billion, trying to get that off the backs of homeowners. And a lot of that's unrealized gains. It's just some random reassessment, and they're telling you that your house is worth double what it was 10 years ago, and they're taxing us out of our houses. So there's several ways that we can come up with that $20 billion, even if we just don't say we just need to Doge Ohio. Something else, think about this. The amount of stimulus, economic stimulus. If we gave homeowners back $20 billion in spending power, every time they spend that dollar in the economy that they saved, there's 7% sales tax, plus or minus a 0.25% depending on county, that's coming back to the state. So if that dollar changes hands 3 or 4 times, I mean, that's huge, huge money. Plus, it's just going to raise tons and tons of revenue. It's going to put people to work. It's going to be a huge statewide economic influx. It's going to be you'll see an economic boom like we have never seen before. So there's definitely ways. Now the state legislature, they're the ones, at the end of the day, they're the ones who are going to have to come up with the exact plan. But to sit there and say that it's impossible to do, that's coming from people who have been gaming the system, and they have been benefiting from the system, and their buddies have been benefiting from the system. Outside of Commissioner Plutchnik, Commissioner No, almost every commissioner that I've talked to, they are vehemently against this. I've talked to staffers, state congressional staffers. They're like, we can't do it. That is bullcrap. It's because they are part of the system and they're part of the problem. We can do this, Ohio, and here's just some examples of how we can get it done. I appreciate the time. It's a long video. Thank you very much.